My name's Andrew from BeFit Training, Physio and BeFit Training, and I'm here with Dan Conn. And we're here to talk about mindset and dealing with some issues, particularly after footy. But Dan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I've played in the NRL I played there for about 8 years. Grew up on a property about 7 hours away. I went to a school, country boy. I went to a school with 22 kids in it, and that was from kindy to year 12, which was, I had 3 people in my year and I always came third, ironically. But I was very lucky. I got a contract, I got opportunity to go to Sydney when I was 15. And from Dubbo to Sydney was a big culture shock for me.
Yes, it would be.
And I was very lucky to go to King's School, which is a big rugby.
Which is actually where I played against you.
Yeah, and I smashed him, by the way.
He did, always.
But it was really cool. So I had the opportunity, 11 and 12, to play rugby and rugby league at the same time. I was catching taxis to Belmore with the Bulldogs and also playing with the King's School. And when I finished, I had to make the decision just after year 12 to play for the Bulldogs or play for the Waratahs. So it was pretty cool. I had a dual contract, and then I decided to go with the Doggies.
And history has it, you played with some of the greats.
I did, mate. I was really lucky. I played with, we had a house, a Bulldogs house, and we had, in this little house, we had Sonny Bill, we had Jonathan Thurston, Nate Miles, Roy and Eddie Asatasi. So there's some pretty good pedigree.
Names,
Out of about 8 guys, there were some pretty decent players, and somehow I snuck in there. But it was really cool. That was the Doggies phase, and I played there for a bit, had some pretty horrific injuries. Went to the Gold Coast Titans to try and start fresh. Everything was going really well there, playing a lot of first grade, and again had some pretty yucky injuries, as most footballers do, and that's sort of the highs and lows of NRL, I guess. So you do learn a lot about how to, the highs and lows teach you about how to get your head right. You do suffer quite a lot, and I've suffered depression for about probably 12 years now.
So you were suffering from some depression while you were still playing in
Correct.
the NRL?
Yeah, I got diagnosed when I was 19.
Okay, wow.
I've probably been on about 8 different types of medication for depression. But these days, there's so many other holistic approaches to looking after yourself, and that's the road I've gone down now, being a professional in my field with the wellness and looking after yourself that way. And then after the old Gold Coast Titans, I had another chance to come down because I had terrible injuries, and I went to the Sydney Roosters. And it was there we played in the grand final, which was amazing. Had a really good couple years there. And unfortunately, I had a really bad tackle and I ended up breaking a vertebrae in my neck and popping out a disc in my neck. And strangely enough, they didn't pick up on it, and I played 4 weeks with a broken neck. So I'm very, very lucky in that sense, but also I'm sort of feeling it a couple of years down the track. I've got screws and plates in there, but the arthritic pain, and also just the wear and tear, as you know, looking after me as the physio. So there's the ongoing repercussions with football, but I wouldn't change it for the world with footy. I've had such a great run, such great people, but I think for me, if I was a great player and had no injuries, I don't think I would be as aware and educated in terms of mental health. I wouldn't be educated in terms of looking after other people's welfare. And I don't think I'd have a holistic approach as to how we can manage things better without using just strict medication and things like that.
That's part of it, isn't it? You know, if we look at Dan, you're a pretty impressive guy. I've seen you train in the gym and you can lift some big weights. You look at you and go, there's nothing wrong.
True.
But
I hope.
Obviously, as you mentioned, you've had a lot of mental issues for a long time. What happened in those footy days in terms of management? How did the football clubs help you deal with that? How did you deal with that? Was there any help back then?
Yeah, I guess it was early on. So it was the 2004 up until 2011. There wasn't a great deal of support. I mean, some of the players are playing really well, and that's the emphasis. it's the players that get injured or don't quite make it. They sort of go back into oblivious, and they don't get a great deal of support. And I guess that's where my passion lies, is a lot of young footballers that don't get a great deal of support, going back and working with them. And also guys that have finished their career and are really struggling as well, because you have that, as you know, there's that camaraderie, there's that performance, there's all these things, but when that's taken away from you, and people now compare this to post-military, so you come back and people have that really
big shock to the system.
I mean, if you're in battle and you're doing all this hectic stuff with all your mates, then you come back and you're by yourself. So it took me a while to get used to it, but I wouldn't change it for the world. At 26, 27, I was sort of forced to go, well, mate, you can sit here and kick stones, or you can find a way to actually not only help yourself, but help others.